What's up, Vikings Nation? Strap in, because today's Minnesota Vikings news comes with a twist that nobody saw coming, and it connects our purple and gold story to a major shakeup across the NFC. This is one of those moments where former Vikings names pop back up and suddenly the league feels a whole lot smaller. Here's the teaser that should already have your attention. A former Minnesota Vikings quarterback, a guy who spent years quietly in the background, is now being interviewed for one of the most powerful offensive jobs in the NFL. And yes, it involves the Philadelphia Eagles. So stay with me because we're breaking this down like true Vikings fans with context, history, and that emotional connection only people who live and breathe Minnesota Vikings football can understand. Let's set the stage first. The Philadelphia Eagles just fired their offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, on January 13th, opening up one of the most attractive coordinator vacancies in football. When a team with that kind of roster talent makes a change, the entire league pays attention. This isn't just another assistant shuffle. This is a franchise that expects deep playoff runs and Super Bowl contention every single year. Whoever takes this job will be handed the keys to an offense loaded with stars and expectations. And now, unexpectedly, a familiar name to Minnesota Vikings fans has entered that conversation, pulling Vikings memories right back into the national spotlight. That name is Sean Mannion. Yes, that's Sean Mannion. Former Minnesota Vikings quarterback, longtime backup, preseason constant, and now a fast-rising NFL coach. The Eagles have officially requested an in-person interview with him for their offensive coordinator position. According to reports, this isn't even their first conversation. Mannion already met virtually with Philadelphia, and now they want him in the building. That alone tells you this is serious interest, not just a courtesy call. For Vikings fans, this hits differently. Mannion may not have been a star on the field in Minnesota, but he was trusted, respected, and deeply involved in the quarterback room during some crucial years. What makes this story even more fascinating is how quickly Mannion's coaching career has taken off. Just 3 years removed from his playing days, he's already climbing the NFL ladder at full speed. After leaving the Minnesota Vikings, Mannion joined the Green Bay Packers staff, which alone probably made some Vikings fans cringe. In 2024, he worked as an offensive assistant, and in 2025 he was promoted to quarterbacks coach. Replacing a legendary figure like Tom Clements in Green Bay is no small thing. That move alone tells you how highly Mannion is viewed around the league as a football mind. For those who remember his Vikings days, Mannion was known as a preparation machine. Coaches trusted him, quarterbacks leaned on him, and his football IQ was always praised behind the scenes. In Minnesota, Mannion is best remembered as Kirk Cousins' primary backup during multiple seasons. He wasn't flashy, but he was steady, professional, and always ready when called upon. His most notable moment came during the chaos of the 2021 season, when Cousins landed on the COVID list just days before a massive game in Green Bay. Mannion stepped in under impossible circumstances. Statistically, his NFL playing career was modest. 3 starts, 11 appearances, 573 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. That lone touchdown came in that unforgettable 2021 situation. But here's the thing Vikings fans understand better than anyone. Not every great coach was a great player. Sometimes the backups see the game more clearly than the stars. Mannion's career path reads like a tour of familiar territory for Minnesota fans. Drafted in the 3rd round by the St. Louis Rams in 2015, he spent 4 years there before beginning his Minnesota-Seattle cycle. From 2019 through 2023, he bounced between the Minnesota Vikings and Seattle Seahawks, often serving as a trusted depth piece and mental resource in quarterback rooms. His final stop as a player came in 2023, when he landed back on the Vikings practice squad in October before being released in December. Shortly after, he quietly wrapped up his playing career. That quiet ending may have felt unremarkable at the time, but now it looks like the launching point for something much bigger. One thing Vikings fans will always remember is how often Sean Mannion appeared in preseason games. No matter the coaching staff, no matter the system, August somehow always belonged to Mannion. Under Mike Zimmer, starters barely played, and Mannion handled extended preseason reps. Under Kevin O'Connell, the approach stayed similar and Mannion was still there, managing games and evaluating depth. Those reps weren't meaningless. They showed his command, communication, and ability to run an offense, traits that matter far more in coaching than raw arm talent. And clearly, NFL decision-makers were paying attention. Now let's talk about why this Eagles job is such a big deal. If Sean Mannion lands this offensive coordinator role, he would inherit one of the most loaded offenses in the league. We're talking about Jalen Hurts at quarterback, Saquon Barkley in the backfield, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith on the outside, and an offensive line stacked with elite talent. Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata. This is dominance in the trenches. For a young coordinator, that's a dream scenario. From a Vikings perspective, it's wild to think a former Minnesota Vikings backup could soon be designing game plans for that level of firepower. Ironically, the Eagles' offense struggled in 2025, especially in the passing game. That's why this hire matters so much for Philadelphia. They're not just looking for a play caller. They're looking for a teacher, a communicator, someone who understands quarterbacks and structure. Those exact traits are what Sean Mannion was praised for during his time with the Minnesota Vikings. The Eagles aren't putting all their eggs in one basket, though. Mannion is part of a broader candidate pool that includes experienced names across the league. Other candidates interviewed or considered include Jim Bob Cooter, Josh Grizzard, Jared Johnson, Matt Nagy, and Frank Smith. Brian Daboll was also linked at one point, but he officially removed himself after accepting the offensive coordinator job with the Tennessee Titans. Several other high-profile names have already taken jobs elsewhere or withdrawn from consideration, narrowing Philadelphia's options significantly. That narrowing is important. As names come off the board, Mannion's candidacy becomes more real, more legitimate, and more intriguing. NBC Sports reporters have confirmed that Philadelphia has already ruled out several big-name candidates who either took other jobs or had their interview requests blocked. In other words, the Eagles are getting serious, and Sean Mannion remains in the mix at a critical moment in the process. For Vikings fans, this sparks a mix of pride and curiosity. Pride in seeing a former Minnesota Vikings player rise so quickly, and curiosity about what kind of offensive mind he truly is. It also reflects well on the Vikings organization itself. Quarterbacks who pass through Minnesota continue to earn respect around the league, both as players and coaches. From Kevin O'Connell to former backups like Mannion, the Vikings quarterback room has quietly become a breeding ground for future leaders. So now I want to hear from you, Vikings Nation. Does this surprise you? Or did you always feel Sean Mannion had a future on the sidelines rather than under center? Do you think his years with the Minnesota Vikings helped shape him into the coach NFL teams now want to interview? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is exactly the kind of Minnesota Vikings news that shows how far our influence reaches beyond the field. No matter where Mannion lands, his story is another reminder that football journeys don't end when the stats stop. Sometimes that's when they really begin. If you enjoyed this deep dive into former Vikings making noise around the league, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss breaking Minnesota Vikings news. Share this video with your fellow Vikings fans, keep the conversation going in the comments, and as always, Skol to the core.